Nigel Farage, huge political upheaval yesterday in Westminster. You moved your speech forward 3 hours, but was it actually a problem for you? Was it really a total gift?
Well, there was a gap in the market, wasn't there? The Deputy Prime Minister had gone. There was a reshuffle coming. It was pretty clear that the Prime Minister didn't know what that reshuffle was. So, I did move it forward a few hours. I think it was the right thing to do. And I predicted on the stage at 1 o'clock yesterday that the real battle here is going to be the election for the deputy leader of the Labour Party. And that is when you're going to see the real battle between the centrist Labour Party and the increasingly strong voice of the left. And I think they're going to be very, very split over this.
A political earthquake just shook Britain to its core. In Westminster yesterday, the unthinkable happened. A Prime Minister suffered a meltdown so catastrophic, so unprecedented, that the very foundations of British politics may never recover. It wasn't a private slip or a careless comment, this was live, in Parliament, broadcast across the globe. The footage is everywhere, already defining the legacy of a leader who promised calm and control, but delivered chaos and collapse. So, what really happened in that chamber? And how did Nigel Farage, of all people, manage to expose the most devastating crack in Britain's political system in centuries? Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you could mark the beginning of the end for Keir Starmer's premiership. It was Wednesday afternoon. Prime Minister's Questions, the most watched, most scrutinized weekly ritual of British politics. The chamber was filled wall-to-wall, MPs buzzing, journalists glued to their phones, the press gallery bristling with cameras. And then it began. Nigel Farage rose to his feet. This wasn't a typical fiery soundbite. He looked almost unnervingly composed. In his hands, papers. Leaked documents. Pages that, if genuine, carried the power to detonate the credibility of the entire government. Farage's voice cut across the hall, calm but sharp as a blade. "Mr. Speaker," he began, "the Prime Minister vowed to stop the boats. Yet this year alone, 45,000 illegal crossings. Deportation flights abandoned. Hotels draining taxpayers of billions. And now, these documents reveal what the public was never told: secret negotiations to re-enter European migration schemes." Each line landed like artillery. MPs shifted in their seats. Some scribbled furiously on notes. Others simply froze, eyes darting toward the Prime Minister. And then came the coup de grace. Proof, Farage claimed, of backroom deals designed to quietly unravel Brexit. Not openly debated. Not voted upon. Done in the shadows. The chamber gasped. For Brexit's most loyal defenders, it was betrayal made flesh. But the real shock wasn't Farage's delivery. It was Starmer's reaction. Instead of waiting, instead of responding with calm statesmanship, the Prime Minister exploded. He leapt to his feet, without being called by the Speaker, a cardinal sin in parliamentary protocol. His finger jabbed the air as his voice cracked into a scream. "How dare you! How dare you!" The words echoed off centuries of oak and stone, breaking the decorum that had survived kings, wars, and crises. Spittle flew. His face reddened. His voice rose higher with each sentence. In an instant, 400 years of tradition collapsed into chaos. Conservative MPs sat in disbelief. Labour MPs buried their heads, knowing what this meant. And the Speaker, his voice booming for order, was ignored. Starmer advanced, shouting over the chamber, pointing across the benches, trembling with rage. It wasn't politics anymore. It was a breakdown. And then, the moment nobody believed they would ever see. The Speaker invoked Standing Order 43, a relic of parliamentary history so rarely cited, most MPs had forgotten it existed. For the first time in 4 centuries, a sitting Prime Minister was ordered to withdraw from the chamber. Gasps filled the air. "Surely you can't be serious," Starmer muttered, desperation in his tone. But the order stood. Security approached. The cameras never blinked. And Britain watched live as its Prime Minister was escorted out of Parliament like a disruptive schoolboy. The image was seared instantly into history. The leader of the nation, humiliated, powerless, dragged from the very house where authority is meant to reside. Farage, meanwhile, didn't gloat. He simply said, voice steady as steel. This is what happens when leaders cannot defend their record. They lash out. They collapse. The people of Britain deserve better. That contrast was lethal. One man melting down, the other unshaken, composed, ruthlessly efficient. Within minutes, the world was watching. Clips of the meltdown spread across Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, racking up millions of views before MPs had even left the building. Hashtag PM thrown out and hashtag Starmer meltdown trended worldwide. International outlets broke into live coverage. CNN called it a constitutional earthquake. The New York Times labeled it a crisis of credibility. Across Europe, leaders whispered anxiously about Britain's political stability. But at home, the reaction was nuclear. Phone-ins to local radio stations exploded with fury. If he can't control himself in Parliament, how can he control the country, one voter demanded. Focus groups described Starmer with words no campaign strategist ever wants to hear: unstable, weak, embarrassing. Even lifelong Labour supporters admitted they could no longer defend him. Meanwhile, Reform UK's website collapsed under a flood of new members. Queues formed outside local offices as people demanded to join what they now saw as the only real alternative to a broken establishment. The political shift wasn't gradual. It was seismic. The next morning, newspapers were merciless. The Guardian, madness in the chamber. The Mirror, what have you done, Kay? Even outlets usually sympathetic to Labour blasted the Prime Minister for losing his grip. Polling data told the rest of the story. Overnight, Labour's support cratered, an 18-point collapse in a single day. Starmer's personal approval ratings hit record lows. Reform UK surged ahead in the polls for the first time in history. And then, Farage struck again. 3 hours after the chaos, he faced the cameras outside Westminster. What we saw yesterday wasn't simply a temper tantrum, he declared. It was the complete loss of authority required to govern. Britain needs steady leadership, not emotional breakdowns. The clip went viral. 75 million views in 2 days. Commentators called it the moment that rewrote British politics. The reaction abroad was equally brutal. France issued a statement hinting at concerns over Britain's political stability. Germany's chancellor stressed the importance of reliable leadership. Australia's Prime Minister paused awkwardly for 5 seconds when asked if he still had confidence in Britain's leader. That pause went viral. Inside Labour, panic set in. Emergency meetings were called. Senior MPs openly whispered about leadership challenges. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner reportedly raged about the humiliation. The Conservatives, sensing blood, lined up to demand a confidence vote. Any Prime Minister who cannot control himself cannot control the country, declared Rishi Sunak. But the damage wasn't confined to one man, it threatened the entire system. Public trust in government plunged to historic lows. Pollsters reported that only 1 in 5 Britons still believed in the integrity of their political institutions. Starmer hadn't just wrecked his own credibility. He had weakened faith in British democracy itself. Farage capitalized ruthlessly. He toured the country, packing halls with thousands. At every rally, he replayed the clip of Starmer's ejection, then asked, "Is this the leadership you voted for?" Crowds thundered back, "No." Within a week, polls confirmed the earthquake. Labour fell to 24%, its lowest since 2010. Reform UK surged to 28%, overtaking Labour for the first time. In traditional Labour strongholds, Reform even led outright. The political map of Britain was redrawn overnight. But the question now isn't just about polls or parties. It's about survival. Can Keir Starmer possibly cling to power after such humiliation? Or has Britain already witnessed the collapse of his leadership in real time? The betrayal exposed, the meltdown immortalized, the humiliation broadcast to the world. This is more than politics. It is history in motion. And in that history, one fact remains undeniable. In Westminster yesterday, the mask slipped. The calm leader vanished. And Britain's future was changed forever. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.